Hi everybody, this is Jackie from Jacqueline Ann Designs, and we're here today for another attempt at recording a video on how to make our covers for our upcoming journals. And I want to thank you guys for your patience as we go through the process of me learning how to do this type of a video where I cannot actually see what the video camera is recording. I've got a long way to go. This is a learning process for me for sure. But anyway, I've done several videos already, and each one of those I constructed a cover. And I'm going to be showing some of those and trying to redo the videos so they're actually watchable for you, because they're different types of covers that I've constructed. And one of them was the type that we're going to be using for the project today. Now, and I purposefully made mistakes or altered things, different things like that, to show you ways to fix them later along the game on some of them. So it's not so bad that those videos didn't turn out great, but nonetheless. Now this one, you might look at it and think it's a mistake because my binding is larger I put more of this binding fabric so that it goes around to the back than I did the front. But it has to do with the way I'm going to decorate it in the end, because there's going to be some other things coming over this way. But anyway, so here's that one, and here's how it turned out. Other than, I like to do the decorating I have it in my mind how I'm going to decorate it, but I like to do the decorating later in the game, because when you go to put in your signatures, you end up, it kind of gets in the way. So, at least from my perspective. But I think I'm in the minority on that. I notice a lot of people in the junk journal world, that's the very first thing that they do is their cover, because it helps to set their theme in their mind. So whether you end up decorating your cover before you ever do your signatures, which are the inside pages basically, I think that's a choice that you'll need to make on your own. But we'll be showing you how to do the decorating pretty soon after we start on things, but so that you can do it that way if you want. Okay. So anyway, this one is going to be designed to hold. I haven't decided if this one's going to hold 2 or 3 signatures yet. I'll decide as I go. I kind of think it's going to be 3, but 2 can be pretty large. So we'll decide as we go. So anyway, so you're going to be building a cover similar to that. Put this aside. Now, what is it that you're going to need? You're going to need, some supplies. Now, there are other supplies you may want, such as paper cutters, different things like that. But I'm going to show you how to do this with some very basic, simple supplies. You're going to need at least 2 fabric strips, approximately 2.5, maybe even 3 inches wide. Now, these are quilting fabric strips, and they're scraps, actually. So they're not even quite 2.5 inches wide, but I think they'll do just fine for my purposes. And you may even want a third, and you'll see why in a little bit. And that's because there's a certain way to create a tie to close your book, a book closure, that you may decide you want a third one for that. Okay, so pick, if you want a tie that's kind of built into your book, without you having to buy any special tools, get at least 2 that are going to match the outside of your book. They don't have to be the same. One can be just plain kind of off-white sari silk or fabric seam binding material, the wider seam binding material. Or there's, but the thing is that you'll want it to match whatever it is that you're going to put on your outside cover. Okay, so this is going to be for my outside cover spine. And then I'm going to have, this is what I'm going to create my inner spine with. And it's a scrap of fabric. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and just tear this selvage off of it. I'm not going to need it to be quite 2.5 inches wide, but it's from a scrap pack. All right. And I like the kind of grungy look of the fabric fraying. And this is a Christmas print. It's going to go on the inside of this particular journal. It just says December 25th. Brr, it's called dashing through the snow in certain places. But yours doesn't have to be that way. I was just lucky enough that those were in the package. Then you're going to need one of these manila type envelopes. If you can get it, get one without this metal clasp closure on it. You know, some of them have peel off stuff here to close instead of this metal closure. Or you can use a recycled Amazon envelope. It can even be the bubble envelope. That actually makes a really cool cover. So, because everything's going to be covered on it anyway. And if your envelopes, if like me, your envelopes that you have this metal clasp on it, don't worry, we'll cover it up later. It's just easier to deal with. Now, as soon as you get your envelope, I want you to just get it and fold this down. And it's better to have a bone folder, but I'm trying to do things with minimal supplies, so that those of you that don't have everything can see that you can start junk journaling with almost nothing. So I'm just going to, it won't give you quite as tight a fold as a bone folder, but it does pretty good actually. So put your, go ahead and put that flap down, and then the envelope that you're going to use is going to be 13. You need it to be this size because you need it to fit the paper you're going to put in it. But don't worry if yours isn't that size and you're using a larger one. For this project, I really don't recommend you go smaller. But if you're going to end up using a larger one, I'll show you how to stagger and do different things with your paper that actually, to me, looks really cool on the inside. But this is what I'm recommending for this project is the 13 by 10 envelope. Okay? And I am going to choose this to be my inside because it'll be easier for me to get rid of this, to hide this once this is all glued down. And so this is going to be my outside cover. And then you're going to need some paper. Now, you're going to need I am going ahead for this project, and you're going to see as we do it that you don't have to have scrapbook paper. But yet on the other token, I am recommending for this beginner starter thing, go ahead and go to the store and get yourself, even if you don't have to buy a whole pack of scrapbook paper or a whole tablet, unless that's just what you want to do. But I do recommend you get a total of 4 sheets of 12 by 12 scrapbooking paper. You don't necessarily want heavy cardstock. You want it to be a little heavier. Let's say this is about, I looked on, mine came out of a pack, and I looked all through there to see if it said how heavy the paper was that was in there. And, like if you buy paper for your printer, it'll say 22 pound, 28 pound, 30, 60, 100 pound paper. This, of course, is an inexpensive scrapbooking paper, so it doesn't say anything like that. But I would estimate this to be maybe about an 80-pound paper. Okay, maybe not. I'm not very good at making, but you can see that it kind of has a little bit of oomph to it, but yet it's very pliable, very foldable. It's not going to fold up too thick. You're not going to have thick folds when you get done. And that's important in junk journaling, especially in a cover. You don't want it too thick, okay? But this is what I'm going to put on my inside cover, okay? Then for my outside cover, it's also got musical notes. They're in gold. I don't know if you can really see them in the camera or not. And then it's got these kind of forest green snowflakes. And I've got 2 of those. So you're going to need 2 of whatever matching pattern for your outside cover and your inside cover. And you can kind of see that, to me anyway, that this is the fabric I'm going to be using for my spine. So it does match it, at least from my point of view and my way of looking at things, it matches it. It's got little pine needles here, and it's got some other pops of color in it. So that's going to be my outside spine. Now the inside spine, only little bits of it are going to be visible. It's not a huge deal that it matches. Now, what if you don't want to use fabric on your spines? Get about a 3 to 4 inch wide by 14 by 14 inch strip of scrapbooking paper. That's you can either use the same, but it does look kind of nice to use a matching but opposite piece of paper if you're going to use paper. And paper will work perfectly fine. And you'll do it exactly the same way we're going to be doing the fabric. Okay, so first of all, let's start putting our cover together. So we noticed that we said our cover is 13 inches long. So basically we need to find the center of our cover, which is going to be, if it's 13, so that means we have 6.5 inches. So we need to make a mark, and then I'm going to use the mark here on my crafter's mat, but you can use the mark on your, using a ruler. Now I said get a metal ruler, but there are some things that I like a see-through ruler for. This one was $1 at the Dollar Tree because I like to be able to see what I'm marking underneath it. It doesn't work well for cutting, but it does pretty well for marking. So I'm going to mark my center, and then I'm going to make 2 other marks, an 1.5 inches on either side of that mark. So 6.5, that means, an inch on either side of that mark. So that means that would be, I need to make a mark here at the 7.5 spot. And then I need to make a mark here at the 5.5 spot. Now we're just going to move this up, because you can see that I've got the same kind of, I don't think it's actually in the camera, but I've got the same markings at the top of my craft mat. So we're going to go up here and do the same thing to the top. I'm going to put a mark here at the 6.5. Okay, the 6.5. Then I'm going to put one at the 7.5 and one at the 5.5. Okay, and then I'm just simply going to come down here with my transparent ruler. And you don't have to do this step, but for me, I do it. I do it when I'm doing the cover, because I still have some troubles when I go to make my cover. So I'm going to try to avoid doing those. But I also, when I make mistakes, or there's things that I still have some issues with getting it perfectly how I would like for them to be, I don't think it's a bad thing for me to show that on the on the camera, because you guys may run into the same exact thing and or make the same mistakes. And in other words, we can help each other out by learning from each other's mistakes. And that's just how I see that. Now, since I'm going to do the outside cover first, and you do definitely want to cover your outside cover first. This is one of many ways to cover your cover. And I'm going to post some videos over the next few days of some of those various ways, okay? I am a big fan of quilted cloth covers. That's my favorite method ongoing right now. Now you can see I need this to go to that 5.5 mark, because this is going to be open here in the center, because we're going to have our cloth binding in there. This is effectively these 3 lines here. 1, 2, 3. Not very visible on the camera, but they're there. Effectively represent our binding. And then you have your front and back. You can decide which one's going to be your actual front and back later. Now, so let's turn this over. And I'm going to show you how. Now, one thing that's helpful that I did not do, but I think I'm going to stop and do, is also do these markings on the other side, on the inside of your cover, okay? Exact same places. All right. And you'll see why as we go. I mean, I was going to do it later, but why not just get it done now? 6.5, 7.5, and 5.5. Let's go up here. 6.5, 7.5, and 5.5. And draw our lines real quickly. Let's just get that done now. And then that way, it's going to help us on the end when we go to cut our paper. And you'll see in a minute here. Not everybody does this. As I said, it's just something that I do. And I think it's kind of making a point. Is to, I mean, you could just let your paper carry over, and that would look fine on the inside, actually. But you're going to end up with a seam where the pattern, the design in the paper changes, and you know, halfway through the back of your cover. And I just don't like that. So I want my cover to end in the center where I'm going to have binding fabric there anyway. All right, so now basically, remembering that that is the front of your cover, what you're going to do is I'm going to put this paper down. But see, I've also got my markings now on the back of my cover. So I don't really have to do tons of measuring. Matter of fact, what I like to do is go ahead and start gluing now. So, trying to think how I want to do this. I think I want to put the, I want to use my glue stick. I don't really want to lick this, and that's what I'm trying to get out of doing. Lazy, huh? So anyway, I'm going to put glue stick. And the thing about glue stick is to put tons of it. Don't stop with just putting a coating of glue stick down. Even when you read the instructions that a lot of the manufacturers have either written on the bottles, you know, the tubes of your glue stick, or if you go to their website, why isn't my glue stick lasting? They'll talk about how many coatings of glue stick you've got to put down. And I have learned that to be very, very true. And also, always train your paper. Notice how I actually made my fold and my crease here before I actually went back and folded it and glued it down. And there was a reason for that. And the reason for that is because it's just going to save you some hassles later. And, you know, because it becomes, if you're hearing, I'm sorry, if you're hearing a lot of noise, it's my puppy. I've got her playing to try to keep her busy so we can get this done. And there's a little bit of a rebellion going on. So if you see a ball suddenly thrown through our camera picture or a tail fly by, that's my puppy trying to get me to play with her instead of working on this video. Now, one of the things that I like to do next is I like to actually draw. Like I say, I don't think anybody I've seen on there does this, but I actually like to draw. See, here's my mark. I want my cover to go to the very edge of the area I've designated as my spine. So and I like to put that line in so that I know where to put my glue. Okay. And for that, I'm going to use my art glitter glue. By the way, guys, if you like the art glitter glue, it's expensive. Right now, I'm considering it worth it. There are some people that get along fine with the Aleene's Tacky Glue. I am going to tell you that if you use the Aleene's Tacky Glue, you are for sure going to have to not going to be able to work with it right away. You're going to have to get it and put it underneath, put it under some layers of wax paper to keep it from sticking down on anything. And then you're going to put it underneath something heavy and let it kind of start to dry there. Okay, or you're going to end up with a really warped boat-like cover. So, and here's where you can use a brush to do it. I guess I'm going to need to poke that hole in there again. All right, let's see here. but I did not get here with my brushes, so I'm going to use my fingers. And it's not unusual that my fingers end up glued like, and you're gonna find out yours do the same thing. Always put your needle or whatever it is you're using, whatever you're using to keep your glue. And it's kind of important that you at least partially spread this out, because otherwise your cover, all these lines where you put the glue down, are gonna be visible underneath your cover. Now, a lot of people like to use the double-edged tape. I've actually tried it, and it makes a great looking cover. Other people say don't use that. A couple of years down the road, you can see the lines from the tape. You know, I don't know. What I am going to tell you is that there's an awful lot of people that do use it, whose covers turn out really nice. So, okay, so now I'm going to go back and put my cover in the lines. Remember, you're going to put the outside cover. We're covering the outside, so you need to have the outside of your cover facing down to the back side of this paper. All right. Now, some of your papers are really cool. They come with they're double-sided. There's a print on each side, and which is really nice, because when it does that, you have to figure out which one you really want to use. Now, I do normally have baby wipes nearby for my hands, and I definitely seem to have gotten here without them. So let's just contend with it. Now, you really have to have something. I like to use something and just push on this. You can use the edge of a credit card. I actually like to use a roller and a piece of wax paper, a burnishing type of thing. But once again, I'm trying to use what you guys might have, okay? Let's see. All right, now, this is where I am gonna be proximate. I'm going to come over here, maybe about an inch, a little bit more. I wouldn't go under that for right now, and cut off this excess paper. Okay, now this along the sides, this is not excess. Don't cut this off. None of this is excess here, okay? It's gonna be used in the making of your journal. Now let's put this over here, and let's turn it over and show you what we have so far. So you have this part of your journal. Now, the next thing you need to do is go back over here, go to this fabric, go to this, and you need to start working this a little bit. Get that glue rolled out. See, this is why I really like to sew mine. Now, the next other side of this, we're gonna glue stick. And I want to show you, and you're gonna, you can't really see it through the camera, but you'll notice the difference with how smoothly it sits down. Most 99, 100% of the time, most book artists will not use a glue stick on the cover. But I'm going to use one, because I just want to show you the difference between a drier glue and a wetter glue. And as much as I like Aleene's tacky glue, so far, I've tried several different ones, and they make different types of Aleene's glue, for different purposes. It's a good glue. But for our purposes, where you're ending up putting so much glue down on something, the amount of water in Aleene's tacky glue just doesn't seem to be that great. Doesn't seem to be that helpful. So we'll just leave it at that. Now we're gonna do the same thing with the other side of that paper. We're going to take it here, try to even it up. And if you sometimes, now this one is not really, there is a direction to this, in that if you look at it, my musical notes need to all be facing a certain way. So you need to pay kind of attention to that, to to make sure it's the same as how you did it on your opposite cover. And mine is, I just double checked that. And then take it and kind of line it up as close as you can so that you're as close as you can be even with this one. And remember, you're out the line. Okay. And then I like to draw. Like I say, most people don't, they just kind of eye this. But one, I'm not very good at eyeing it. And two, I'm trying to make a point for you guys on the camera. And please excuse me as I am learning how to focus, do a camera that I can't actually see what it's looking at. So I apologize for that. Now we're gonna use this just to show what I'm talking about with the glues and the moisture. And I'm also wanting to experiment to see how long it holds. So you guys are a part of the experiment. Now this is not my favorite brand of glue stick, but I'm gonna tell you that it is a huge favorite of about 90% of the junk journaling and world. The other 10% will not use a glue stick at all. I personally like a different one, and it's made by Scotch. It's a Special Crafters glue stick, and it's a giant glue stick. The only place I've been able to find them where I can easily order them is off of Amazon in a pack of 4, and I'm waiting for mine to be delivered. But you can see how much of this I am applying. Now this glue stick there's almost no forgiveness to it. And what I mean by that is it's really difficult. Once you've got your paper down, that's kind of it. The other thing you have to remember about a glue stick is it's not going to work with heavier papers. Don't try it. Don't put your hard work into something only to have it come. It's just not going to work. All right. All right. Now you can see that the other thing about the glue stick, and this is another thing I kind of don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's already pretty much dry where we put down the flap of our envelope, and it's visible. You can see how it's visible here on this sort of paper. And I kind of did that on purpose because I wanted to show you that it is a visible. And all of the glue sticks that I have tried dried this way. And that is not necessarily a good thing for all aspects. I use tons of glue stick in my junk journals, and you're going to see that. I don't know if what I'm trying to demonstrate to you with this is going to be visible on the camera. As I'm trying to demonstrate to you a positive thing about the glue stick, and that is how smoothly it goes on. Put this down. You know, my favorite is the double-sided tape. And my journals that I have done that looked the prettiest were done with double-sided tape. So, go give, you know. Now, so you can see we've got that on. I mean, we're not perfectly level here, right in here with our papers, but that doesn't matter. That's not going to show. We're pretty much in the ballpark where we need to be. And we've got plenty here to fold over when we're ready to do that. Now, the next thing I want to do is put on my outside spine. And as you recall, I had chosen this for my outside spine. Okay? Now, I definitely don't need all of this material, so I'm going to cut it. Got these, they're Moda fabrics, and some really cute ones. I'm gonna cut this selvage off here. I think that would make a cute tag or something on Christmas morning. See, it actually has words on it. Christmas morning, which I think that's the name of the fabric, but that would be really cute on one of our tags. Aha. Okay. Now you want to make this approximately the same length, and don't stretch it. Lay it down where it's laying down smoothly on its own. If you stretch it, what'll happen when you glue it up is it'll kind of cause an arch on your cover. All right, so now let's cut it here. And when you're cutting paper, you're going to just do the very same thing. See, I just cut it so that the edges were somewhere pretty darn close to where my paper ends on both ends. Okay. Now, when you're putting fabric down, it's better to use a fabric glue. It kind of gets inside of the fabric and helps it to stick down better. I also, and I'm probably going to do it on this journal, like to go through and sew some edges or even some trim on. You don't have to do that. I'm not going to be showing that on camera, although ultimately on my finished journals you may see that they've been sewn. I'm really liking the way some of the things look when I put some stitching on them. All right, but so for right now, let's see, I may need to poke my glue. This fabric is made by, this glue is made by Beacon, and it's called Fabri-Tac Beacon 3-in-1. As far as I can see, they're all basically the same glue, just labeled for different purposes. But they may be different. I don't know. Now get your finger and spread it out. You'll be thankful that you did later. And kind of put a little bit of it over onto the cover. Now, this has got such an odor, the Fabri-Tac does. It's an acetone-based glue. It dries very, very rapidly because of how fast acetone evaporates, which makes really lovely. It's lovely that it does that in junk journaling, and it does not come loose. If you apply it and every surface in there has got it some on its surface, it does not come loose. So that's it. That's my outer cover. Now, I don't care that there's a little bit loose here. Like I said, I like kind of a shabby look. And ultimately, I'm gonna be taking this into my sewing machine and sewing it. It's perfectly fine not to sew. That's a preference, a design preference, basically. Now we're gonna do the inside the same way we did the outside, but it's gonna have smaller dimensions when we get done. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and finish pulling over our paper. So let's do a little bit of training of the paper so that we kind of know. All right, where that's gonna hit in the corners. All right, and training of the paper is just starting your fold so that you've got some, but you're not gluing it down yet, okay? And it does help it. So let's do that. We're going to do it all the way around. Now, if I'm going to mess up on the cover of a journal, the corners is a place that it's going to happen for me. I watch people in their videos doing the corners to their journals, and they just go, and it's done. That's not the way it seems to go for me. So, just to let you know, so I've kind of done something that I do pretty routinely on my journals as a just-in-case measure. And I'll show you that as we go. All right, so basically you have to have as little, you're not going to be able to see these fold lines, I don't think. Maybe you can see them a little bit on the camera. But you need to get rid of some of this bulk here, or you're going to just have a bundlesome mess. So what I like to do, you have to kind of go at it at an angle. See, here's the line, and you've got a line there. Go at an angle and go almost, but not all the way into your corner. So maybe like a 1/16 of an inch. Come over here and do it the very same way. You're going at an angle, and then you're gonna kind of scoop that out of there. And as you watch other people do their journals, it's like they just go and they're done with it. It never works out that way for me. I end up with part of my cover in the inside showing. So guess what I do? I take this piece here, and it does add to the bulk, but not in the fold. And so it's worked out okay for me. And I am going to put that in here. And I am hoping someday to get to the point where my corners look good enough where I don't even worry about that. That way, if perchance any little piece there doesn't end up covered, I've got it covered, so to speak. I should not, when I'm done, be able to see any of this peeking out. So we go over here to this other one, and we're gonna go at our angle. Remember, it's not going all the way to the corner. And once again, then you're going to just kind of scoop the cut out. And for me, because of my problems in that area, I am going to glue this down. Once again, hard lesson learned is how much glue stick you need to apply. And every single one of the manufacturers will tell you just swiping your glue stick across there isn't going to do it for you. All right. Tell you, I am just so enjoying the fall weather. Taking my dog for a walk and all of that is just so much more pleasurable. Now I know later on we're not going to have it where it gets warm like this in the daytime, but I figure we might as well enjoy it right now. One more. I actually kind of find the corners nerve-wracking. My favorite thing about junk journaling, I'm not gonna lie, is the finished product, but in the making of it, it's making the ephemera. I just like making the ephemera. Even more so to a certain extent than I like making the book. Let's see. All right. All right, now we are actually going to do it the right way for this part. And we are going to now put our glue. We're going to use I'm going to use my choice, what I think is the right way anyway. I'm going to use my art glitter glue. And you need to put an area of the glue right here, a very thin line. And I have an applicator, but I need to refill it, where I can make thinner lines than this. Now, the Art Glitter Glue Company actually makes a little tip that you can apply to their bottle, because they have a nice bottle, and get a really nice thin line. And I have to tell you that I said, I'm not going to pay for that. They should just put it on the bottle. And I should have just paid for it, because it really makes a nice small tip. And their bottle is actually made out of some similar soft material as this. And the Fabri-Tac bottle is firm. It's a little bit, but I think that's because of what the Fabri-Tac is made out of. There's another alternative, the Barely Arts Precision Craft Glue. The main thing I use this for is vellum, but it comes with several of these little needle like tips on there. But it's made here in Texas, which is a good thing. So you'd be supporting Texas industry. There, but it's even more expensive. I keep it around to use, as I said, for the vellum, because it's one of the few that your vellum doesn't come out totally wrinkled on. But if they would come out with a bulk one that would make it more affordable, which they may normally have, but there's some, because I only recently just discovered it. The Barely Arts glue. And so they may very well have and I'm not worried about that glue there, because it's going to get covered up anyway. All right, now I'm going to take just a little bit of my Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to do the same thing here with my fabric. I don't know if I would be nearly as religious about, or dedicated to Fabri-Tac as myself and other junk journal artists are. There are some other, especially if you're asthmatic, to me, the fumes that are in the Fabri-Tac, it's got to have some sort of toxicity connected with it. And people with asthma and stuff, I don't think they could use it, because normally asthmatics are very sensitive to anything with a smell. And it really has a strong odor, chemical odor to it, that could even overwhelm the breathing of a non-asthmatic if they're a person that's sensitive to it. So now Elaine's Craft Glue makes a fabric glue that it supposedly has no odor to it, and it's non-toxic. So I've got some of that on order. I'm going to give it a try. It's always important to make sure that when you're gluing your paper down, you're getting the very edges of it. Okay. Now we're going to come over here. We've got, I live in a big high-rise, and I don't know if you've ever been around the desert doves. Well, they live all over the outside of our building. And sometimes it looks like when they're here at the window, like they're actually walking right in front of your room. You're walking by on a sidewalk or something right outside the door. It's the most funny looking thing you have ever seen. Now, I don't think that the maintenance men think having all the desert doves out there is all that funny because they're very messy creatures. And they're just out there constantly having to clean the sides of the building off. So, all right, so now we've got our top and our bottom done. We're gonna do the side. Keep an eye on your, and just remember we went through and trained through all these over. So you're gonna find out how helpful that is right now. All right. I am not the fastest at making these covers. I don't know why. I think part of it is I'm just not fast. But other parts of it is because when you watch a lot of the YouTube videos, they're pretty good at editing. Some of those people have actually got teams of people that work with them in editing and getting their videos set up. Not many of them, but there's a few of them. And it can be anywhere from just their family members helping them out to there's 2 of them that I know that have got a staff. And all right, so the outside is covered. I wouldn't fold it right now. Let that glue settle in, but I really do like the cover. And there's decorating that's got to happen to that cover, so it's why it kind of ends up with a lopsided. I like mine that way. You notice that there's a little bit of a difference in the cover. So like 5 1/4 and 5. So there's a little bit difference off, but I just like to have a little bit more room to decorate on the front side of the cover. So now let's go ahead and make our inside cover. And it's almost the same thing, okay? You are basically going to need to, you're just doing it backwards, okay? So I like to put the right side down just for my drawing purposes. Put your cover down. Where do you want it to be? So I'm going to put it there, and we are going to put it right about there, and then right about there. All right, and then you're just gonna make 2 of those. So let's, and then we'll just cover the lines. The line should bisect. Okay. We just need to make 2 of those, and we should end up with a front and a back. Let's see how it goes. Now see, this thickness of this particular paper is just about right for what we're doing. And see how you can flop it around? And I'm not gonna end up needing to cut into 2 sheets of this at all, I don't think. Let's see. Gonna use the first one as my pattern. Okay. I went down to the grocery store yesterday, and I had heard about how there were no products on the shelves. And the shelves looked pretty full. I'm trying to figure out the right side up and the back dark side down. There we go. But they were full primarily of alternative things. So like, instead of tomatoes, Campbell's tomato soup, and there might have been plenty of tomato soup. I'm just kind of using it as a technical example. There might be some brand you never heard of tomato soup there. It was that kind of a deal. Okay, so now you can see here's where we're going to line the inside with this one, and it goes right up to our line there. So even though we didn't really measure, we just kind of cut around our square. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of see if I can show it on camera what happens if you don't. Oops. I didn't go over far enough to my line. Where's that third line? All right, there it is. Always come with your baby wipes and your tissue and all that with you when you're going to go get on the camera. If I was here by myself, I'd just get up and go get it. All right. So we're going to have to come back later and repair that. I'm going to try just applying it here and see what happens. I try to get it to line up with the one on the opposite page as best I can, so that they look as even as they can. You don't have to worry too much about our glitter glue getting out in an area that, and the reason that I say that, it totally dries transparent. So it's just not a huge deal. Now, I've already got that on upside down. It's definitely a directional fabric. All right, so let's cut it. Once again, if you're using paper, you're going to do it the same way. I just choose whenever I'm putting fabric down to put fabric glue. And then more than likely, you are still going to need to, unless you use double-sided tape to put your book together, you're still going to more than likely need to let this sit. What I like to do is let it sit for a few hours without a heavy book on top of it. Yeah, that'll way so the air can get to it and it can dry. Then I put it overnight, and I'm going to leave it flat. And then I put it overnight. Under the heavy book. And then the next day, say that evening, I know I'm going to be doing some book crafting. So the next morning, I take it out from underneath the heavy book, and then I prop it over to something to create the shape of my spine. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. All right, that's good. Okay. And so, you know, because I do like my binders to have sort of a shabby chic look to them. See if I can get in there with this needle. Then I'm gonna, okay, and I'm gonna kind of come in here along this edge. I did not do a good job of spreading my glue on this. Let's see here. All right, so there's that cover. And like I say, you're going to need to go and let it dry somewhere. And I'm gonna go and put mine underneath something heavy. And then once it's done, what I say later on tonight, actually, I'll probably do it, is I'll take this and then I will kind of, without creasing the spine, is I will bring this over, you know, fold this over like this, and then kind of clip these edges together, leaving this in kind of this arch type of a shape here. And then I'll end up with a spine that is shaped like that. The last group of journals, the fall journals that I made, I did what I call it a creased spine here. And it looks good and everything, because they sit flat for people, you know, on their bookshelves or whatever, but I just don't think they look as nice as this. So for this project, we're doing an arched spine. And so that's it. That's how we're gonna put our spine together. I'm gonna show you how I'm doing also, in addition to this, I'm doing some fabric covered. The next time you see this, there may be some stitching on it. That's kind of, that's ready. That's how you construct it. Construct a arched spine book out of an envelope. And we're gonna have in a sewn in signatures. Looks to me like from the size these are coming out with the arch, with our spines done that way, we're gonna need to do 2 signatures. Which means it can mean a lot of extra work or not much extra work. It depends on how you want to do it. So I'll see you guys with our next video where we're going to be doing a little bit more work on the collage that we did before. Okay? Love you guys and see you on the next video. Bye-bye.